3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Beyond Frame Data Podcast, episode 3, featuring Alex Smith, dun dun, of the FGC, dun dun.
What's up?
Of course, as always, it's your boy Haney. Joining me is, take it away,
Monkey Business. That's me, Beyond Frame Data editor, frequent interviewer, student of every single interview subject I meet. Monkey Business. Hoping to be educated or learned by our guest tonight, Alex Smith, our first Beyond Frame Data live guest. We're extra happy to have him on here. In the same way that the Grand Blue Fantasy Versus community is happy to have him among their master rank players recently. You may have run into him online if you're playing that game.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I want to even go ahead and say
Been a grind for sure.
If you guys have tuned into any one of the episodes of Beyond Frame Data, you've heard the voice. It's called the legendary voice at this point of New England, also Buffalo and FGC. He's the voice. So if you guys heard Monkey Business, that's the soothing voice you guys hear. But tonight, talking about Alex Smith, I want to hear everything all the way from the beginning. So if you guys don't know, this guy is actually 1,000 years old. So he has played everything under genuinely 1,000 years old. He's played every game. He's probably fixed your arcade stick. Alex, talk to us about your FGC beginnings, brother. Take it away.
We're going way back. Okay.
We're going way
are we
back.
starting? Are we going to start with how I discovered fighting games in general,
Yes, sir.
or my start in the FGC?
Son, I'm talking the womb.
The whole thing. All right. I suppose it started in the early 90s. I played, I think it was Fatal Fury on Sega Genesis, and I was playing Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo, and going to the arcades around the time of Street Fighter 2 and around 1992 when the original Mortal Kombat was released. And I'd never seen anything like it before. It's kind of difficult to put it into context nowadays, but Mortal Kombat 1, I was looking at the stream. Mortal Kombat 1, at the time that it was released, was pretty shocking. We'd never seen a game where you can just, fight and then kill your opponent. It was crazy. And that game just made a really big impression on me. It was just really cool, and it had this sort of darkness to it, and really cool characters in it, and I just got drawn into it, and I would play in the arcade as much as I could. And that went from Mortal Kombat 1 to Mortal Kombat 4, and at the same time I was playing other games that would come out, like Killer Instinct, and I would play Street Fighter 2 here and there. But to move forward in the timeline a bit, eventually a close friend of mine, goes by Bonge, Ben, showed me this game called Guilty Gear. And it was something else entirely. It's got this crazy anime style, and it's got metal in it, and I'm a huge fan of metal. I play in a metal band myself. Shout outs to my boys in Vacant Eyes, by the way.
He had to do that. He had to plug them.
Gotta plug my boys.
He had to plug them.
I'll drop the album link in the
Drop
chat.
the album.
Oh, there we go. Good looking out. I lost my train of thought. Forgive me.
You came out the womb playing Mortal Kombat 1.
I got so excited. We started talking about metal. Guilty Gear. Yeah.
So
Guilty Gear was shown to me by Bonge, and it's got metal and anime and crazy designs and lots of things that I like. And I started playing that casually. And at this point, this is like mid 2000s, and I hadn't played competitively. And that really started with the convention Anime Boston. I entered a Guilty Gear tournament, and I met this guy Fosno, who introduced me to Dust Loop, which is the Guilty Gear, and by now it's larger anime community. and I got in touch with players in Springfield through a thread on there. Shouts to Gonzo and Poncho and all those guys. And I just started going to tournaments with these dudes, and the rest is history.
So you've
There's
been playing-
plenty more. That's just the beginning of it. But
That's a we're, oh
take a
no, no,
breath
we're gonna
there.
we're gonna revisit. We'll let you take a breath there. I'm gonna start picking at your brain at all these games in a minute. But hold on. Now, normal people don't remember, but Mortal Kombat 1, who did you remember who you mained? Did you have a main?
oh, of course, 100%. Yeah.
Oh my
Sub-Zero
God.
all day.
Sub-Zero MK1?
Sub-Zero.
Okay.
Sub-Zero.
Damn. Why
Yeah.
Sub-Zero?
In 1, 2, 3, and 4, I played almost
shit.
exclusively Sub-Zero. I just thought he was. Well,
I mean, he's the Blue
forgive
Ninja.
me. Forgive me for the word I'm about to use.
All right.
But I thought he was cool.
Womp, womp, womp. I want to end the
I
stream
wasn't
there.
planning it
can we
as
cut
it
the
came to
stream there?
mind, but then I realized before I said it, I had to. Never mind.
I'm happy you
But
asked for
seriously.
forgiveness. That's what's important.
You
Seriously,
mentioned,
he's just gotta.
jumping
a
around
sweet
to many
design.
different games. You played Killer Instinct, right?
Yep,
Who-
the original.
Like the first one. You remember who'd you
Yep.
play in there? Did you play Glacius?
Jago.
Jago. Ooh, okay.
I guess I liked ninjas when I was a kid.
It might just be a ninja. I was gonna say it might just be a ninja thing, but because you touched
Mm-hmm.
upon Guilty Gear, there are ninjas in Guilty Gear, and yet you don't main the ninja, right? Who do you main in Guilty Gear?
That's true. I've always played May. Since 2007, I've mained. That's 13 years I've mained May. She's just cool.
You know, there's more pun potential in there too with May and Maine and stuff if you want to take it and ask for forgiveness before saying it, but you don't have to.
I know what the title of this episode is going to be now. It has to be the puns.
Sub-Zero is cool.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Mortal Kombat had a little bit of a darkness to it, right? You talked about what ultimately made you. I guess if you were to how do I word this? If you were to rank what games you played seriously, how would it go? And ultimately, did you stick with one thing over the other, or did you just shift here and there, or did you main everything at the same time? Like, how...
Are you
that question made
asking me to
sense.
rank them in terms of how much priority I gave playing them competitively,
Yeah,
or
yeah, I
how
suppose.
much I think they're an excellent game, or what?
in order of how serious you took each game, I guess. Does that make sense? I don't know. I think I worded that weird, but
Okay, no, that makes that makes sense. For sure, I took Guilty Gear Accent Core the most
the most.
seriously. That game, I mean, it's a very highly technical game.
Mhm.
It's not something that you can just. I mean, you can pick it up and play it, and it's fun. But to play it at a high competitive level takes a serious amount of practice. Be able to do FRCs and know all the character matchups and know character-specific combos.
It's work.
It's work. Yeah,
Right.
but it's really fun because, and this ties into what I love so much about the Guilty Gear series. The ceiling is very high. I mean, in some games you learn like a relatively basic combo, and then maybe you do something a little bit like a little bit of a harder link or something like that, and
Right.
then that's your
That
damage.
takes you far.
In Guilty Gear, if you want to really max out your damage, you can put in an immense amount of work and get a much higher damaging combo out of it. For example, I mean, this game just has so many options, and it represents freedom to me. You can think of something that might be possible in that game, a certain way to play a matchup, or a certain combo, or a certain setup, and it's very often possible. It's just got this crazy freedom of everything, thought and
Yeah.
possibility.
No, I love the way you put
Yeah,
that.
I can appreciate that too.
Yeah.
Because Guilty Gear's mechanics are open-ended. There's never really a binary one or the other kind of result that comes out of them. I always love to illustrate the usefulness of something like YRC in Xrd with the layers of optimization you can create out of punishes situationally. Level 1, I'm Sin. I slide under Kai's fireball and punish him. Level 2, I cancel it into Beak Driver for a nice 2-piece. Level 3, I slide under the projectile, YRC, and then get a full Crouch H combo starter and do 50% instead, right?
Yes.
Like you just
Beautiful
keep
example.
introducing new levels
Right.
of practicality, and suddenly you like the world just expands eventually, and you have these realizations mid-match too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Not only that, but
There
like
definitely-
it really just
There have been times when
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say there have definitely been times when I was playing in tournament, and I thought of a combo that I had never done before, and
Yeah.
in that moment I was like, "This should work," and I did it, and it worked, and it played out well for me, and that is just so amazing to me that you can do that.
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
the
I
best
discovered,
That's literally the best.
I
feeling.
discovered air Beak Driver loops in tournament as well.
That's awesome.
Like I keep hearing people say this. It could probably go this way, and then I did one. I'm like, I better go practice this later.
No, I think
You were
I think
saying,
freedom,
Kenny?
Yeah, no, I was just saying freedom is like the biggest factor in why people like what they like, I guess. So like I want to take it even to Melee, right? That's why people play like certain like Fox has so much freedom in Melee, but that's just one character, right? If you go to Guilty Gear, there's really like no excuse because all of the characters offer something different. They're genuinely unique, right? So like you can
Sure.
if you whatever you like to do in a fighting game, Guilty Gear at least offers that ability. Like if you like to zone, or if you like
Yeah.
to play a certain playstyle, if you like to rush down, if you like to set up traps, like there's each one of these kinds of characters, right? There's the trap-based character, there's rush down, so it's like it really is like a game of whatever you enjoy, there's a character for you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's really amazing. So to get back to your original question, that's the game that I, over these 13 years, have probably put the most effort into. I don't play it currently, but
That's your baby,
I
though.
took that game very seriously.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I would even say it's that clear, because considering another game that I played competitively, Street Fighter 4, I played that from 2008 until, I mean, the picture that we have up is from last year. I mean, I still will play Street Fighter 4 whenever I can.
ECT.
Hmm.
Shoutouts to Sweet Johnny Cage. Shoutouts to L.I. Joe.
Yes, definitely. Much
Um,
love to those guys and to East Coast Throwdown. But yeah, I would say Guilty Gear, Accent Core, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, and I played Mortal Kombat 9 a lot. I traveled a lot for that game.
That makes me so happy because that's such a unique community. That was what they feel mostly as their first competitive game now, and have since grown into something much bigger as an NRS community. But in MK9, that was whole new territory for everybody. People getting their bearings for the first time in Mortal Kombat anyway. So to be traveling for that game early gives you a lot of like unique access into the narratives that form from that point on in the community, and the top players like Rio, or the characters that would only see play for the game's first competitive year. If you got to see those, that was a trip.
But yeah, I've played over a dozen games competitively. I would put those ones at the top most likely.
God
And right now
damn.
my focus is mostly Grand Blue Fantasy Versus.
What
Loving
made-
this game.
What? Give me why you decided to pick that game up. Like why Grand Blue?
So Grand
Give me-
Blue
give me the story.
Fantasy.
Yeah. Give me the story. There's got to be okay. So for people who are tuning in, so shout out to people watching right now. I got a random message right at like the crack of like 1 a.m. that was like, "Yo," and that's all I got. Yo, I'm like, "Yo," half asleep. Yo, I'm gonna get nice at this game. He hasn't even said what game yet, and I was like, "Hey man, all the power to you. I don't know what game you're talking about yet." But he's like, look, Grand Blue, I'm gonna get nice. I have to get nice.
Oh my
so
god.
It was the most anime. Look, I haven't seen his face because it was over text, but there was that gleam in his eye, and I don't understand what spurred it. Talk to everybody as to why you picked up Granblue and why you decided to master this game. Like, what is the deal?
I suppose it started when the game was announced, and I saw that it's by Arc System Works, the same developer that makes Guilty Gear, the series. So I felt obligated to at least check it out. And so I decided I was going to try Granblue Fantasy, the mobile game, just to see what the IP is about in general. And really long story short, I still play that and I still enjoy it. And I started to really like the characters and so on and so forth. And then when Season 2 was announced, I realized I was still playing Granblue Fantasy, but I had never picked up Granblue Fantasy Versus. Because I don't know, I wasn't ready yet. Had other things going on, whatever reason. But about a month and a half ago, I started playing it. I entered the very first time I played against actual opponents since the release of the game was for the Arc Revo tournament.
Nice.
I didn't do that well, but to be fair, I didn't go 2-out at least. I played Catalina and just played, just raw fundamentals and saw where it could take me. But I ended up playing Charlotta, and I just played it more and more and more, and I really love the game. It's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of games that I enjoy. It has the feel of strong neutral, like in Street Fighter 4, where you can really you can beat someone by playing them on the ground and playing that game better than they are. Anti-air is an important factor. It even borrows a guard button, which you can find in Mortal Kombat. It has some kind of crazy options, and it has running, which I'm used to from other anime games like Guilty Gear. It's really just a blend of a lot of different things that I like in fighting games, and I think it does a really excellent job of, and this is kind of a trend in more modern games, making the game a little bit more simple, or at least easier for people to pick up, but also having a good level of depth. I feel like so many series are trying to do that. I feel like that's kind of the direction of the forthcoming Guilty Gear game, Guilty Gear Strive.
Right.
But I feel like it was done really well here. I feel like people who've never played fighting games at all before can pick this game up and probably play it pretty well quickly. Oh, thanks.
Thank you for the follow, Miss
Thanks
Stella
for following,
Miss Stella B.
I feel like new players can pick this up and play it pretty quickly, and I think experienced players can find a good level of depth in the game, and we'll see that their strengths as a player will still shine.
Yeah, I love the quick input button so much.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I mean, at very face value, it just makes the game really easy to play if you've never played it before, but it has its uses in high level play for sure. There's the trade-off of moves having a greater cooldown when you use that, so you're sacrificing something when you do it, but you get the advantage of a really fast input. So it's balanced in. I like that. And the game has a really great and varied cast.
Yeah, I found that the DLC characters are also adding every other possible archetype too. Even just recently, in the past 2 or 3 days, we've seen the release of the most unapologetically rushdown character the game has seen so far, complete with a stance in which she can't block but parries all mids and highs all the time.
Oh, we're definitely going to get into UL. UL?
Yeah. UL is something else.
Yeah, we're going to get into UL shortly. I do have a really interesting question that I want to actually put forth to light with you. Um, I I was grateful to have a conversation with you a long time ago in regards to how you view fighting games in general. A lot of people might like they'll play them and they'll be like, all right, man, I just like to play it because it's a game. But you've been playing these games for a long time. You must feel some sort of like I guess you had a philosophical standpoint to it. I want to talk to you a little bit about that and just have you expand on that thought a little bit.
For sure.
What does it mean to you? What does fighting games mean to you?
They're a constant. Well, it's a lot of things, really, but one big part of it is that they are a constant reflection of our striving for reaching something as close to perfection as we can try and attain. It's like when you play fighting games, you're delving into yourself, into your ability, and you're striving to improve from your current state. And it's an ongoing process, and it's something that is there's a parallel between yourself as a person, I feel, and your ability in these games. There are things that you can improve about yourself that will reflect in your play, like being patient, accepting when you made a mistake, or forgiving yourself. There are so many things that these games force you to teach yourself if you're going to be as strong as you possibly can be. Those being some of the primary examples. Like it's very, for example, it's very easy to when you make a mistake, when you drop a combo, when you mess something up, to get really upset with yourself. If you've practiced it a lot, and if you're a competitive player. But in the heat of a tournament match, you really don't have the time for that. You can't be spending too much energy on something like that. So you learn to let it go immediately. Like, I made that mistake. It happens. On to the next thing. And that's something that it goes. It applies, I should say. It applies to situations outside fighting games too. I mean, there definitely have been situations where, I would mess something up and be frustrated about it, but be like, I can't get too caught up in the fact that a mistake was made. I have to just accept it and move on to the next thing. And there are countless things that are like this, having to do with fighting game. But yeah, it's largely about improvement and enjoyment and learning.
I love it. Yeah.
To go to a tournament is to evaluate the strength of the work that you have put into something solely to measure your ability to do that thing. And in this case, it's competing in fighting games, right? But to go to a tournament, I've heard another player say that going to a tournament is strictly to find out what is wrong in your play, kind of like going to the doctor, right? Diagnosing yourself or your play, rather, not diagnosing yourself. Hopefully not. But that's you described that patience was one of the virtues that is taught in fighting games. That is definitely true short term in terms of like evaluating what players are doing, getting better at the game, but also long-term patience toward goals that you will struggle to reach because it's a long way up in this scene as a player, or a commentator or anything really that you want to be good at.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like one small goal at a time though, it'll keep you busy. It's a great little hobby we have.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of ways that this can apply to the fighting games. Like, if you, just one very small example would be if you pick up a new character and you learn a quick and easy combo, and you've been relying on that combo, but then you realize, the combo that you really should be doing that does more damage and gets you a good knockdown into a good situation, is different. You then start implementing that combo, and you might drop it at first when you're playing casuals with people, which is frustrating because you don't get the damage that you were getting before. But if you stick with it, and if you practice it, and if you always go for that combo instead, then it eventually becomes a part of your game, and you can do it without thinking, and you're a stronger player. Whereas if you're like, no, I want to get my damage and be done with it, you don't end up being strong. So there's definitely a long-term patience being taught through situations like that even. But there are so many ways where it gets taught to you.
Because we're solving our own characters and we're solving the idiot next to us, and it's just there's an infinite amount of difficulty in the infinite variety of idiots we have to beat.
That being said, transitions perfectly into the next question. What would you be able to describe as your play style, playing all these different games? What have you ultimately found out about yourself through playing fighting games, and what have you learned? What have you learned about yourself in terms of like a play style?
That's a great question. You definitely I would say that the way people play often is a reflection of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years of having played fighting games, it's not any one clear thing. I would definitely say, if I were to force an outside perspective, my play is very aggressive in a lot of ways, but it can also be very methodical.
I think that, being a person you've played for a bit, if I could speak on that behalf, I can double down on that. Yeah. I don't think it's just it's definitely thought out. It's not like bum rushing you aggressive, but it's thought out aggression. And I like that. I like the way you put it.
That sounds pretty fair.
So, and going to all these games, let's dissect that a bit. Because in Street Fighter 4 you played Abel. You also played Juri there.
And Juri.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, I played both.
What was the choice behind Abel?
May. 100%. When to put it with a simple 3-letter word. When Street Fighter 4 was released in 2008 in arcades, I was playing Accent Core, and it was the only game that I played competitively at the time, really. And the community was really shifting to playing Street Fighter 4, and I felt obligated to pick up the game pretty much. And I've always liked Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So at first I was playing Ryu, because Ryu's straightforward. Everyone's played Ryu. And then I realized that there's this character that's a mobile grappler, which is very similar to Mei. Hard hitting. He has great mobility. He has a command grab with the same half circle motion as Mei even.
Yes.
And it just made sense. I started playing him and never stopped, really.
No, taking that throughout your entire fighting game, I guess, career so far, you've crossed swords with a bunch of different fighters. You've played everybody under the sun.
I've played everybody.
You played everybody, right?
Name a top player from almost any country. I've probably played them.
I want to know I want to know in each game, who is a player that stuck out to you and why? All right, so I'll name the game and you tell me the player and you got to give me why. Sounds good?
Ooh, I like this. Okay.
All right. And
I already have one
Matt's
in
gonna
mind.
help. Matt's gonna help out here because I'm definitely gonna forget some games.
Okay.
Street Fighter 4.
Daigo.
Oh, so if you guys haven't
Easily.
seen, I can definitely. I'm gonna link that. There's a video of that. I'm gonna link that in the chat for you guys to see. But why?
I played. Okay. This is Evo 2012, I think it was.
Hmm.
I played against Daigo on the main stage. I had been, I made it out of my pool, and I had been playing match after match. And then one of the people running the tournament said to me, "Yeah, you got to play Daigo on the main stage." And I was like, "Is this a joke? Like, what do you mean?" It turns out I had gotten to a match away from top 32 in a tournament with about 2,000 people, and I had no idea. But yeah, I played against Daigo, and watching the match, he took so many. He had so many really great reads, and really just outplayed me. I was not upset at all about that, but it was just there's a certain significance to playing against someone, and if you losing in a way that feels like so clearly earned, like, wow, I really got outplayed.
You're like, damn,
there
I'm
was
played,
no question
yeah.
about it.
you're like, all right.
My one regret from that match was I had the very first read. Actually, I had the first two reads. I was like, okay, I think Daigo's he's got something that I don't have in this game, but I know one thing's gonna work. He's gonna let me dash twice and command throw at the beginning. And then I did that in the match and it worked, and I was like, all right, he's gonna test me with an uppercut. And then in that moment, I second guessed myself. I'll never forget this.
And then
probably.
you got DP'd.
Yeah.
I was like, but if I do nothing, am I really just giving in to the fear? And I overthought it, and then I did something, and he uppercut. And if I had blocked that uppercut, the whole match might have gone differently. But
yeah, Daigo's like, he knows he's fighting against Abel. Like, that needs to be represented as soon as possible.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Daigo for Street Fighter 4. He is amazing in that game.
Mortal Kombat 9.
Mortal Kombat 9. Ooh. There are a bunch of people I could mention.
One that stuck out to you.
Someone that stood out to me?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Ryo. Ryo's...
Oh, wow, yeah.
He had a really...
I don't know why I thought Injustice when you said
amazing way of playing that game.
You were fighting as Cabal, I presume.
Ryo played a few characters.
Yeah.
But he's for sure someone that sticks out. Okay. I don't know if I could just single him out, but because there were so many strong players, CD Junior and
yeah. The last time I saw CD Junior was Killer Instinct, and like I knew he was gonna win it that Evo. Like he was playing a certain way.
That's another story. I was staying at his place with Rico Suave right before we left for Evo.
It had to be one of those.
We would play. Well, it was them in grand finals. We would play like all day. And I remember I fixed his arcade stick right before we left. I remember specifically he said, "Will you fix my arcade stick so I can win Evo?" I'm not kidding.
Wow.
This is not a joke. He really said this.
Wow. No. It was how he was. I remember thinking.
Sabotage him.
I remember thinking how clean he was playing. I was like, this guy's gonna win easy too. Like this guy's gonna win. Like he
I mean, I feel like CD Junior is an amazing player.
Yeah.
He's an amazing player, and Sadira was really busted. So between those two things, it was bound to happen. But yeah, I remember him asking me to fix his arcade stick, and I didn't have everything with me because I was in New York traveling, and I was at his place. But I made it happen, and he won. It's awesome.
Nice. Do I stay in MK? Mortal Kombat 11.
Someone who stood out to me in Mortal Kombat 11. Ooh. A lot of crazy players in the game. It's been a while since we've played offline, so I have to think about it.
I didn't say too long on the subject because there's a lot of games, you know.
I would. Yeah, true. I'll go with Woozy.
Okay.
Local player plays a few different characters.
Yeah, we gotta get some local.
Shout out to him. Like, I mean, this guy I had never seen before Mortal Kombat 11, and came through and was serious business. I also have to shout out Buffalo. That guy came through and destroyed everybody with Sub-Zero.
Yep, that's what he does.
Like it was.
Yeah. Well, we definitely have to ask about Accent Core.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Marlon Pie for sure. That's a zero hesitation.
Okay, cool.
Oh, really?
I have never seen anyone, to this day, I have never seen anyone dominate a game the way that he dominated in Accent Core back in the day.
Really?
Pardon me. This guy came through to our local tournament and won on random select in a game where you have to put so much effort in to truly play a character. He was able to learn the cast and beat everyone on random select because his knowledge of the game and his skill was that high.
Damn.
What did
Really
he test
amazing.
in you in particular?
I'm sorry?
What did he test in you in particular?
What did he test in me?
Yeah.
Yeah. If there were elements of his play that contrasted or worked especially strong against a particular element of your play?
I suppose it was his ability to zone and control. I would play that game by trying to overwhelm people in the neutral, to find an air approach that would force them into dealing with my pressure or to make a mistake. And he was very good at just making sure that he was in the right place at the right time to stop that and to prevent that offense from starting. And then on top of it, you know, he had a really amazing offense once he would get it going.
Yeah, that's definitely what stands out to me experiencing playing against Marlon Pie, even in Granblue, where he plays Fairy. And also what you'll see most typically when you look over at any monitor running any Guilty Gear game, probably somebody running their offense and the player on defense not yet knowing how to survive. Offense definitely super strong until you reach high level where people are a little bit more capable of defending, which is what I always wonder about people who have really strong offense. Do they make themselves that way because they might not have as strong of a defense?
I just realized
I've heard that kind of rule of compensation.
I just realized that I'm in a chat with two rushdown junkies, and I'm a defense guy. I'm like, I forgot. I'm like, on one hand, there's Matt. On the other hand,
when you find somebody with that perfect balance, you've got an excellent fighting game player.
Yeah, I actually,
True.
Interestingly
True,
enough,
yeah.
I actually think, which is such a good foil, when we interviewed Lucky D, he had the opposite opinion than Alex, and that really, I like to learn that difference in philosophy, actually. Because Lucky D was like, ultimately...
Regarding what specifically?
Playstyles. But like, specifically targeting Matt's question, where he's like, what do you think will teach you more? And I think Lucky's answer to that was like, he's like, if you want to be real, like on the real, defense. He's like, obviously you need both, but what to me, defense is more impressive than a sick offense. So that it's just interesting. I feel like you guys philosophically differ there, but also agree that you need both. So
I 100% agree that you need both, and I'm actually very impressed by a good defense. It's I don't know. There's something very special about that. I love it when I'm watching a tournament with people and someone deals with an entire sequence and everyone just goes,
All I can
Sick
think of is
blocks,
Goichi. Like
awesome.
Being that wall.
Like yeah, Goichi is a great example
Goichi
in
is-
Dragon Ball. When you
is-
watch him just block a series into
38
a
second
series
situation.
perfectly. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's crazy. It's beautiful. Sure.
Whittling someone into submission without attacking them. I mean,
Dude, you want to
Yeah.
quit? You want to give up?
you see how Fenrich ends up opening up Goichi is like something as silly as walk forward, walk back, duck, stop, do nothing, and then Dragon Rush. And that's the only way that you can get Goichi to not tech Dragon Rush. Like,
Yeah,
you have to play DDR first on the D-pad.
Dude, it's crazy trying to open people up when they have really good
Mhm.
defense.
I remember playing at CEO. I was in a hotel room with Chris G, and we were just playing Marvel 3. And in my opinion, to this day, like nobody, you can't grab Chris G in neutral. Like to this day, I don't think anybody. The way you can open up Chris G is like he needs to make a mistake. It's very hard to get something on him without him like fucking up an input. It was wild. He teched like every throw. Yeah, he was just solid.
Awesome.
On a game-to-game basis, there's all kinds of different things you learn to focus on. What I like about Granblue is defensive options are so simple. Nothing kind of muddling it, no sort of V reversal or guard cancel. So what becomes really strong defensively in that game is Abare mashing exactly when you think the opponent will have to choose to move forward to reinstate their pressure.
Yeah, that's
Only
very,
thing it's gonna
that's
lose
very
to, of
popular in
course.
Marvel 3. What you just mentioned, that's very, 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 very
Yeah.
popular in Marvel 3. Not always push blocking
Yeah.
and yeah.
Mm.
Exerd,
On
Rev 2.
I was gonna make a very small comment about that.
Mhm.
It forces the person on offense to then vary their pressure to deal with things like delay button, which is really cool. And also in Granblue you have dodge and roll, which are just enough to make your defensive options really interesting. And then whatever your specific character has, but yeah,
I love
it's
the
it's
risk
a great
that
game with
roll
like
carries.
just the right number of options. Yeah,
Mhm.
the risk on roll and dodge I think is appropriate. It can save you or you can end up killing yourself.
So,
But
yeah, especially if you're rolling and get hit by one of those low buttons, and so many characters have big viable lows, cancelable too. You can just die off them.
Moving on in the which
I wanna
players
say-
impressed me in
Rev
which
2.
games?
Rev 2.
Guilty Gear, Exard, Rev 2.
It doesn't have to be 2 if the set
Yeah,
of your
yeah,
life
yeah.
was in
Yeah.
one of the other versions.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go with Lord Knight on this.
Okay.
Lord Knight is someone that I had known before this iteration of Guilty Gear, but we never played the same game. He was just someone I would see around, and like he would always win Melty Blood or whatever tournament he was entering. And I was like, yeah, you won again? All right, good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
But he picked up Guilty Gear and ended up being a like really serious threat, and I just had to appreciate work ethic is really what comes to mind. Like he is someone who really learns the ins and outs of the game and really truly tries to understand the meta of the game. And I remember one example would be time we played casuals, and I was having the hardest time opening him up with May. Like he would jump my command throw, or if I was doing pressure strings, he would always block them. And I realized that he was doing delay jump to beat out my offense.
Fuzzy jump?
And yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And there came a point in the set where I was like, okay, the only way I can really beat this is to delay low to catch his jump frames. So I did delay low instead of just doing like hit or grab. And he immediately said to me, like, yes, that's how you have to beat this. Like he knew,
Awesome.
he
He
knew
knew.
the
That's sick.
situation. He knew exactly what the situation was and what adjustment I had made to beat it because I had realized what he was doing. And I love that. Just the fact that he's that conscious of it, and he also just he puts a lot of effort into mastering the best combos with his characters and understanding different situations. Just he really impressed me in that game.
It's nice to have that acknowledgement from a thoroughly knowledgeable player. Realize you're both speaking that same language of Guilty Gear knowledge at that peak level. Beating Fuzzy Jump is honestly so important in that game.
For sure.
Yeah.
And finally, Street Fighter V. Before we move on.
Oh man. Street Fighter V. There are so many. Sorry. One that comes to mind is Momochi.
Yeah.
I ran a really long set with Momochi at Evo, and his style of play and his approach was different from anyone else I play. He's willing to take basically every throw. There were rounds when I would just throw him like 5 times in a row. But he is very committed to playing in the most solid way possible, with some calculated risks, of course, but just like really trying to play kind of like Street Fighter 4, just like actually whiff punishing things,
Momochi's
facing.
like the world's most dangerous man at times.
He's incredible.
I watched him. I think I saw the match between him and Hamdam. I think it was like at Brooklyn, like beatdowns or something. And like it's how militant he plays, you know. Very, very solid. Like that's really the only word I can think of.
I have fond memories of being hypnotized by his character's crouch animations in the middle of top level tournaments. That's just Ken bouncing around in season 1 of Street Fighter V while blocking. To me, that crouching idle animation was just iconically recognizable as Momochi's Ken.
Yeah.
I love that when you can tell which player it is just based on their play.
Yeah.
Ken just stares at you like, what are you gonna do?
I feel like his stand like kick as Ken is better than everybody else in the world stand like kick. Like his is worth like $100.
Yeah.
All right, that's all.
$100 stand like kick.
That's $100 stand like kick. That's the best stand like kick. Yeah.
I feel like I need to also shout out a few players that kind of have a similar philosophy around fighting games.
Do it up.
Tokido and Samurai.
Samurai and I feel like
big
Samurai,
inspiration.
Samurai.
For both of them.
Yeah. Have you had the chance to play Tokido?
In 5, I don't think I ever have. Actually, come to think of it, he's one of the few. I don't think I ever got to play him in 5.
All right.
But Samurai, I've played him for
he knocked me out
quite a
of
few
Evo.
years. Samurai did?
Yeah. He I got out of my pools in Winterside. I won my next match, and then I had to play Samurai. And whoever won that had to fight Chris CCH to get out.
Man, brutal.
Like, our match was the longest 2-game match ever because the breathing techniques shook me. Those breathing techniques, bro, I have never been shook by someone just inhaling. He took one deep breath. I'm like, I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose. Nobody takes that deep of a breath.
Have you seen Demon Slayer?
Bro, no. But I just know he inhaled and closed his eyes for like 10 minutes. I'm like, I'm gonna lose. This is longer than the set.
That's awesome.
Both
I love how much dedication and reverence he puts towards every match. Like, he's really channeling his entire being into playing his very best in that match, and I love that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's rewarding for all of his opponents too, who get to feel like they have been treated with the utmost respect as a competitor and never underestimated for a second. Like, no matter what level of play you're perceived to be, you're still going to be something that causes someone to breathe deeply between matches, think hard, close their eyes for a sec, meditate. Both of those Akuma players, United States and Japan, seem to be the embodiment of the fighting games as a tool for discipline and self-improvement.
Right on.
Yeah,
I love
much,
it.
I think in general, don't hold back. If you're gonna watch someone, absolutely watch them. Give it your all every game.
Yeah. Street Fighter V in particular, I think, forces everyone who's playing it and trying to be any kind of consistent to do that, to respect everyone. That's just what this game is. Like, it's so volatile in a way that no other game I've played competitively is. It forces you to play your absolute best, even against players who are intermediate or relatively new, or
one mistake you can absolutely
only have great strengths in certain areas. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. You have to really take them seriously, or you might lose.
One mistake is all it takes.
It forces you to be your best. Yeah. One mistake and a couple of wrong guesses.
Yeah. That's it. Playing at 99% in any other game is amazing, right? Playing 99% in Street Fighter V is foolish.
Yeah,
like
it's
you can
crazy.
play 99%. Like, you can have a hangover and play a game, but as long as you're better than the other person, you'll go far. Street Fighter V, you're playing at your 99% best. That's bad. That's the worst day you've played.
Dude, I've talked about this with people before, and I've said, if your ground game is amazing, if your anti-air is on point, if your spacing is excellent, but you're dropping combos, you could very easily lose. Or if, switch out one of those for the other. Like, if you have everything on point, but you're just not anti-airing well, like, you could very easily lose to so many players. It forces you to be at your top shape in every aspect, and it's the blessing and the curse of V. I feel like it forces you to be as strong a player as you possibly can be, but it can be very frustrating because you can be so on point, but then make one mistake and guess wrong and you lose, and it's rough. It's hard. But yeah, having played about a dozen games competitively, it's definitely the hardest to be consistent in. Sure.
Now, throughout all this, you've encountered a lot of players. Who do you think? Who would you consider your demon?
Oh no!
Who's your FGC demon?
My demon. Oh, it kind of varies by game. Like in Guilty Gear, it was Marlon Pie and Steve H. In Axe and Core, I should say. In Axe and Core, it was Marlon Pie and Steve H. Marlon Pie I only ever beat in that game once in a team tournament, and we played a lot. We played many times. Steve H, I never beat the guy. I remember the closest was one of the Philly tournaments. We went to last game, last round, last hit. He did Greed Sever, and I tried to super, and I messed it up and got hit and died, and I'm still sad about it. Yeah. So
it always feels like that could be the one.
That would have, if that had come out, if I had gotten it,
yeah, that
might have been it. But I guess it depends upon the game. In Ixard, it's a Venom player named L, and I decided recently that I'm not going to play Guilty Gear anymore until Strive is out. So,
ooh, damn, why?
Never gonna have that revenge.
What?
Never going to.
What game's got your
resolve
focus?
That one, unfortunately. Sorry?
What game's got your focus then?
I would say it's Granblue right now.
Granblue?
I've been playing.
All
Yeah,
right.
I've been playing that very consistently.
Yeah, I think a
Strive-
lot of people that don't really know the difference between Accent Core and Plus R probably expected you to be so excited about Rollback Plus R.
Yeah, it's because I play May. Really, I
Yeah.
love May in Accent Core, and they changed her command grab to be from like a 4-frame stationary command throw to one that's like 30 frames that has a running animation.
Damn.
Damn.
Yeah.
Excellent. Fix that up.
And it just, I could never quite fully accept that.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, no.
I would just wait for Xrd for
She's
the
still
command grab to be fixed.
She's still a good character. It's just it messes too much with my style of play with that character. So I have no interest in playing Plus R, but I love watching all the streams for it, and I'm really excited that everybody is getting to enjoy it.
You have an all-time,
oftentimes for the first time ever, a lot of players who never played it are trying it out, and that's awesome. It's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
you have an all-time favorite player?
Xrd, we don't have any offline tournaments right now, so it's kind of tough. And we are getting Strive in about 5 months, I want to say, from now. So I decided to just take a break from the gear, and right now I'm playing Granblue Fantasy Versus and
Yeah, see, why live
MK11
guiltily when
very
you can have-
casually, and Street Fighter 5. Sorry?
Right. Why live guiltily when you can just fulfill the Granblue fantasy for the next strive, let you strive into being a top player with its
Oh my
accessibility
goodness.
and character redesigns. Although I'm a little worried about your style of play given the new Strive air dashing, but I guess you'll just stay grounded instead. That's fine.
We'll see.
We'll see. I
I'm
have no idea
okay
how
with-
it'll work, honestly.
I'm okay with changing my style
Right.
as needed.
Yes.
I was just
In
gonna say, like,
MK11, I play Scarlet, for example,
Mhm.
who is a zoning character,
Yes.
which is very different for me. But I've gotten some enjoyment out of that too.
Mhm.
Made it work. Combined it with my rushdown.
Yeah.
Sorry, Handy, what were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say, I'm like, I think older players in general, like, they're not really molded. Like, I don't see, if you decide to pick up a fighting game, I don't see like being incapable of getting like good with whatever designated character you choose. You know, like you're
Mhm.
always gonna put 1,000% effort into everything you do. So, I remember when Street Fighter V the beta came out. I think you had just the beta of Street Fighter V. I think you had like 500 games under your belt.
Dude, we played.
Like
I played that so hard. The beta.
the yeah.
I think
no,
I
was.
I think I hit top 100 in ranked, and I definitely had like a few hundred matches. Same for Mortal Kombat 11. Actually, I played the beta a lot. A
It's nice to
whole
get
lot.
early access.
Yeah, and I plan to do the same for Strive. I already pre-ordered the game, and when the next beta drops, I'm in there.
Betas are cool because they bring back the arcade style learning atmosphere where, because there's no training mode, everything you pick up is learned on the fly based on assumption and other experimentation that you have to be playing people to create. And when you're working in that effectively with focus and actually finding things, you feel so rewarded.
It's
But it takes
it's a
commitment.
really cool thing. Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Last question on this opinion, and then we'll move forward. But do you have a favorite player of all time? Favorite fighting game player?
Oh, it's so hard to choose just one.
You can only.
I
choose
would
one.
probably say, if I had to choose
Just
just
one.
one, it would probably be Daigo.
Of all time?
Yeah.
Why?
He has
Sonic Boom. Sonic.
he has a very unique way of approaching games, in that he develops his own style, and sometimes takes what are technically incredible risks when he knows that they should be playing out, and they do. You know, everybody knows about the Ume Shoryu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen him play Street Fighter, and there's something about that that's really special to me. And I guess just the if you've read about his journey playing fighting games, there's just something really amazing about the level of sincerity and dedication that he's put into playing, into cultivating his style. Yeah, he keeps it 100 always.
He became one of my favorites thanks to FGC Translated, actually getting a look into his mind and the way with which he slowly develops his philosophy, speaking to himself over minutes at a time. And I think him streaming is a great look for him to cultivate his own words and help himself develop wisdom, if not all of us being able to extract it from his streams through things like FGC Translated, because there's so much to find in the way that Daigo narrates his life and imagines it.
Yeah, I think that entire YouTube channel is a treasure.
Yeah. And FGC Translated also provided the translation of the lecture that Daigo did about having to face a potentially traumatic situation of returning to an arcade where he got beat up for beating somebody at Street Fighter because he liked that arcade, but after getting attacked, he left for a couple months and went to one that he didn't like as much, and then started to have like nightmares about going back to the other one. He showed up to the original arcade after a while, never saw that guy again, and just felt like this existential relief. That's the story that made me fall in love with Daigo. That like
sounds like it's an episode of High Score Girl.
Yeah.
Almost. You've seen that?
Yo, shout out to that. Probably not as loud. That anime is like based after him. She even picked Guile.
That's true. Yeah. Haruo.
She picked Guile. What was I gonna say? No, I mean, do I even really have to comment on it? Like, I think I've talked about Daigo more than I talk about myself. I mean, you have to talk about this guy.
Yeah.
But
he's amazing.
I played him. I got the pleasure of playing him because I'm like a little rascal. We're like at Capcom Cup. I saw him playing with Sako in the back like curtains. I was like, man, if it's not now, it's never. I like ran up to him like right after he started fighting Sako. Nice. I was like, look. Some lady's like, are you behind? I'm like, yes. I'm Phenom. If anybody asks, I'm supposed to be here. I was like, I sat down. I was like, you know what? Forget it. I was like, look. They're gonna kick me out. They're gonna do it right now. It's do or die. So I sat down. I'm like, yo, Daigo, let's play a first of 3. He was like, okay, shit, whatever. He sat down and played a first of 3. I remember I tried mad hard game 1. I remember I did all my sneaky, everything I've ever thought that was rascally, I did it game 1, and I won. And I thought I was so nice.
What? This is 4 or 5?
This is 5. I won.
Okay.
I won the first game, and I thought I was amazing. I thought I was the best thing in the world. He did one look. He was like, "Oh, you're one of those," and that destroyed me. That when I tell you that shattered me, because like I was prideful on. I was like, I thought I could trick him. He's like, all right, I just need to know you're that kind of guy. And I lost the next 3 games straight.
Oof.
But I remember with the last game, it was more like we were both kind of smiling, but he was smiling in the last game, and he's like, and here's the jump, right? And now that's when you're jumping. And I was like,
oh,
damn it. I know. I know, right? I know.
Had the read, man.
I thought I was like, yo, I can get him with my cheeky EX flash kicks at random, like my jump timings, my pretending to do things, and he's like, oh, you're one of those. You just like to act like you guys are doing shit. And I was like, it's crazy that he can put people into boxes like that. And that's when I was like, all right, you was my favorite player before, but now you my like really favorite player. Like you're putting people into like these little you remember the MCAS or the SATs? He's like, all right, on the race and ethnicity form, he's like other. He just circled me under other. He's like, this is what bubble you're in right now. You're under. He's like, you're one of those. He said he just literally laughed. He's like, okay, I got you. You're that guy. I'm like, that got me so sad. I was like, I'm that guy? No.
Yeah, man. He has talked before about how he categorizes different styles of players and fights them accordingly. Which ties into something else that I wanted to mention.
Go talk.
I feel like fighting games are a conversation between the two players, and you're expressing your will to play a certain way, and the opponent is expressing their will to play their way. And every moment, every exchange, every decision is kind of like a statement, really. And Daigo, with what you've been describing, has learned to listen. I guess is one way you could put it. And I find this to be maybe the most important thing that I utilize as a player. Listening to the opponent. And I've talked with Dink, who has also interviewed me about this. And it's just so incredibly important.
Also a part of Beyond Frame
People
Data.
will tell you who, yeah, shout outs to Dink. People will tell you who they are. People will tell you how they want to play. And it's up to you to pay attention and listen to them. And that has gotten me so far in so many games. Just really paying attention and being like, okay, this person plays defense by doing delay button. Instead of just running whatever offense, I had on lock in that moment, even though it can be very difficult, I'm going to delay pressure, beat that delay button. I'm not gonna late throw them. I'm not gonna just frame trap. I'm really gonna commit to it. And that is something that you have to be able to get yourself to do, to be disciplined enough to make yourself change in the moment, to adapt to how your opponent is playing after you've listened to them.
Yeah. It's certainly a little tempting to want to be the first one shouting in all caps in the fighting gameplay conversation, doing things like double dash command grab and getting your own offense started, right? Because you're the one making the moves and forcing the issue.
No bullshit.
But
I was afraid.
Somebody who
I was afraid of Matt's
yeah.
No bullshit.
Yeah. So it's even more impressive to beat somebody that you are listening to, because it shows that you intend from the beginning to be using their own habits against them, which means you're going to have to take time to pick them up, because you're assuming that when you begin a set, you start at neutral. If you're the player who forces the issue, you don't want to be learning as much about how the opponent behaves in that neutral. If you are that player, I think you start at the disadvantage, but eventually it can become rewarding. And I think one of the reasons that people emphasize like 3 out of 5 sets being better for adaptation is so those defensive minded players, the listeners like Daigo, can stand a better chance. But the thing is, Daigo doesn't need the 3 out of 5 to do that. And the cream of the crop of that kind of player with that philosophy, they can do it in one game if they need it.
I was just gonna
sure.
say, I want to double down on what both of you are saying so hard right now. So like, if you want to talk about like the long set king Daigo, I guess the other school, right, the coin flip of adaptation, the foil, if you will, to adaptation, the silencer of adaptation would be Tokido. I think Tokido's, if every game was one game, one round, because back in the day, even in Japan, games were they were no losers bracket, single limb, 2 out of 3, and that's it, right? I think Tokido represents this extremely well. So what you're saying, and doubling down on what Alex is saying, Daigo's the kind of guy where it's like, yes, I want you to play at your absolute best, So despite your offense, I will beat you. Despite your power, I will beat you. I want to beat you with nothing. No, I've beaten V Trigger. I've beaten Abs. I've lived through all your super, your everything, and I was able to win. Tokido is like, I don't let you begin. You don't even get a chance to play.
Daigo's play is the strong silent type.
Yeah, I think,
and eventually that speaks more loudly than the screaming and shouting of Itazan throw looping you to death.
Yeah, it's like where Tokido's like, saying. So I guess the analogy is like, if it's a fighting game, it's a conversation. I think Tokido looks at it as a conversation with myself. Like, you don't exist. You're not real. This is me getting to play.
It's a definite style, yeah.
So
it is definitely an approach.
Yeah.
I employ that as well in a lot of matches against people that I have never fought before. Like, I'm just gonna see if you can deal with what I'm doing for a starter.
I've definitely done that only in a matchup that I'm unfamiliar with. If I'm scared, I'm trying to bum rush you. Like
yeah.
I mean it works. If they can't deal with what you're doing from the get-go, then the match is over. If they show that they can deal with it, then you can talk from there, so to speak.
Right.
But different players approach this in different ways, and it's really fascinating. Itazan, by the way, really quick story about him. I played him in Street Fighter 4, and I'll never forget this moment. We were in a room playing casual matches, and we were playing Juri versus Zangief, which is a match where Juri, unless you really know what you're doing, can very much get away with pressing standing heavy kick, far standing heavy kick. It's excellent against Zangief.
Yeah.
So, knowing that he's an incredibly smart player, I was like, I'm going to just use this move like I'm playing some random player from America who's, maybe not that good with Geef, just to see how he deals with it. And I remember specifically, he spaced himself so that my stand heavy kick, which is an advancing normal that reaches really far, whiffed, and he command threw it. And he turned to me and he said, I know that. And I died. I died.
Why is that horrifying?
One of the best moments ever.
You're trying to take it. He's trying to take advantage of my Zangief character not having a good 4-frame punish.
Bro, I'm
scared. All right.
That's
Let me back up a little bit.
It was too good. It's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
Shout outs to him.
Yeah, he just described his power. He's like, I was like, oh, but just reading the fear in my opponent. That's the only thing I really know how to do. That's my power.
I mean, yeah, he's very good at it. He's a very methodical player in his own right, but he also knows how to just really enforce his will in matches. It's kind of crazy. He's like a jack of all trades almost.
Do you remember everybody's playstyles that you play against?
Often, I would say. Even if it's just like some random person I've played online, if I run into them again, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember
this guy. Yeah.
Like I can tell you very specific things about the styles of certain players. Even if I haven't played against them in a while, like how they play, especially how they play defense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Hold on, let's get some New England love in here. This is gonna be fun. Oh
no,
this is gonna be fun. Woo, you opened up
it's been a while since I've played a lot of people, but
whatever. We're gonna talk about it. Eve opened up the can of worms. It's gonna be fun. Burkish of NEFGC.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah, man.
To explain how he plays.
What's
Burkish.
the philosophy here?
That's a very interesting one. Burkish has one of the best defensive styles. He's an opponent who will vary his defense. He'll do delay. He uses the whole gamut really of defensive options. From delay jab to delay uppercut to I'm just gonna take the throw. He's someone who will cycle his options. So he is not a very straightforward person to try and open up.
Hmm.
To his credit. So he's I would say he's one of the best as far as that goes.
All right.
Yeah, I found he also has very disciplined light buffers and neutral.
Yes, he does for sure. He also plays using. You have to pay attention to his meter and his charge because he will use whatever moves are, Urian stuff. If he's playing Urian. Until you deal with it, he'll raw tackle, he'll raw knee.
What was I gonna say? Zaffarino.
But yeah, I remember it's been months since I played Burkish with I think maybe one exception, but I remember.
Zaffarino.
Zaffarino's another player who really understands this meta, and he'll cycle his options. It's a defensive play style. Someone who cycles.
Okay.
Like if they're doing this one thing from the start, and in the case of a player like Zaff or a player like Burkish, it could be any one of several options where they happen to fall in that moment that you're playing them. They could be like, all right, I'm going to tech throws from the start, or I'm going to take the throw from the start, or I'm going to delay jab, or I'm going to early jab from the start. Wherever you start out in that conversation, if you start beating them for doing what they're doing, they will do something else, which I think is important in that game. I think a very baseline style of play is to just have like your go-to, like delay throw tech, which works very well until you run into someone who knows how to shimmy or delay button. Yeah. And then you get blown up for it. And if you don't know how to turn it off or switch it to something else, you lose.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zaff is not an easy player to just categorize. He's about that Bruce Lee life.
Yeah, which
about
is
being water. About being adaptable.
Yeah. Such malleability. One thing you never expect water to form is a wall, but he tweeted out a video recently of him standing completely still as he got a mid-screen and perfecting the Zeku player. A Zeku player didn't even look like he was doing anything wrong. Like I don't even think that was the problem. I think like Zaff's wall is just not strong. Yeah.
He does adapt that style as well. And playing really with punish heavy neutral that involves a lot of being still. He's very good at that.
Yeah, because people are always moving themselves. Yeah. That's another element of play that I think comes out of the Daigo school of thought in comparison to what we called the Tokido school of thought. Rather than being the one to move and set up the play yourself, using the opponent's movements, whether that's done with a button, a limb, something that advances, using that to create guaranteed hits with whiff punishes or even counter hits on reads. That's something that players like Zaff are able to do because they're great listeners too.
For sure.
Monkey business.
Oh man. All right. Monkey is a player who...
Act like he's not here.
I'm gonna act like he is here, and I just don't mind saying what I gotta say, because I don't. Because we keep it 100. We're boys.
We'll keep it 100.
Monkey is a player who will try and get away with anything he can possibly get away with.
Oh hell yeah!
From the get go, like when you play him, he will do whatever gimmick or strategy,
Look at that proud
will
smile.
work.
Look at that guy.
Even if it's not real, so to speak. Even if there's a way to deal with it, if he knows you're not dealing with it, then he will gladly use it until you lose.
Because I already know the way that people do go to deal with it. I'm hoping that they do to level up with them, as they think that I'm going to stay at layer 1, I've anticipated they're going to layer 2 on the defensive option, right?
Exactly.
And so you start conditioning them around these like ideas that they shouldn't even be letting affect them to start with, because the first thing I hit them with was not real, or big gap. Maybe Percival full screen EX dash and a command grab. That shit happens.
Yeah, dude. I mean, if Monkey blocks your jump in, and he knows you're gonna continue pressuring because you're at an advantage, he might just uppercut you, and he'll do it again if you're in that situation again. If you get hit by it, that's your fault. But if you show that you'll block the uppercut, the next time he might just block, and then you're at advantage, and then you're getting thrown.
Yeah,
because he knows it's the next step.
The cool thing about that game, Grand Blue, as well, is DPs can't come out if you're stuck in block stun, and you won't get hit for mashing DP during block stun. Even if you're holding forward rather than block or anything, your character will continue blocking if it's a true block string. So I'm going to mash with impunity because you have to read that now.
Yeah.
Unless
the input involves you standing and you're getting hit by a low, then it often won't. Then it often won't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good. That's a great option too. I see we're playing the same game.
Sounds like it, but yeah, that's Monkey business. He's crazy and aggressive, and
I know you guys haven't played
plays the mind games.
You guys have played it, but I'm not sure if you like follow it too crazy. But in Third Strike, there's a player named Deshiken, and that reminds me of Matt's play, just because he's kind of bulldozes, or like you guys Onuki. He plays like Nuki. He just kind of like tries to push forward as much as possible.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I love the corner too.
Yeah.
Love it. That's my shit.
All right, last one, then we're moving on because I want to know the future of Alex. Me. How would you categorize me then? And then we'll move on.
Ooh. Huh.
Damn, he just gave you a sigh. Whew.
I know.
I have to think about it.
Yeah, whatever he says
a player
can and will be used against
wants
him for the law.
You're a player who favors playing defensively, but you'll also take a bet it all risk if you think it's going to play out. You're not afraid of losing the whole shebang for a flash kick that you were convinced is going to work, which is, it's a double-edged sword for sure, but that's, these are the risks we take sometimes.
Yep.
On defense, you're more likely to, I want to say you're a delay jabber from what I remember. Most of the time, you take some convincing before you'll tech throws. It depends. This is Street Fighter V specifically.
Okay.
But
all right.
Even with tendencies like this, they change. Like, someone can be in a certain mindset one day and in a different one on some different day.
Yeah, that's what makes fighting games so frustrating. Got to solve all these idiot puzzles made by idiots who change what they're doing and make an idiot, right?
It's like an ever-changing puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the beauty of it too.
What is the future for Alex Smith, and where do you see yourself moving forward in terms of the fighting game community, or not the fighting game community? What's the future for you? And do you see yourself becoming like a mentor, or are you always going to be like a competitor or whatever?
Well, for sure, I'd like to keep competing. And I really do love talking about games with people and helping people improve. It's always been something that I enjoy. I don't know if it would become my focus on some formal capacity at some point, but it's definitely something I enjoy. I would really like to compete in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus in offline tournaments when it's possible. I'm gonna keep playing Street Fighter V until the next Street Fighter game is released. Um, and when Guilty Gear Strive is released, I want to really delve into that game and see how I feel about it. I mean, I for me there's kind of a threshold of, you know, enjoying a game enough to really want to put in the effort to be strong in that game. And for me right now, Grand Blue has done that. Like if I'm not really enjoying a game enough, or if it's not meshing with me well enough, then I end up playing it kind of casually. And if I end up competing in it, that can be very frustrating because I won't end up doing as well as I would like to. So for Strive, I have to feel it out. But if I like that game, I want to play it really, really seriously.
Yeah.
Beyond that,
Sorry. Okay.
Oh no, you're good.
Okay. One of the hardest things to push yourself through as a fighting game community participant on the side of the player is competing in a game that you don't actually enjoy anymore or feel that you like. So I appreciate you saying that you have to see if you are enjoying Strive before committing, because there are players that, to the detriment of their mental health or their ability to engage with the community, will play games that they don't actually like. And I remember earlier, this is not a call out, but I remember you said you started Street Fighter 4 and Guilty Gear Xrd out of obligation. Obligation for Xrd obligation to Granblue, excuse me, because it was made by Arxis, who you like for making Guilty Gear. And I don't know what you said obligation for in regard to Street Fighter, maybe just because the whole scene was playing it in 2008 when it dropped.
Yeah, for Granblue, I just thought this game looks nice. I should at least check it out. For Street Fighter 4, it felt like if I'm gonna play competitively, if I'm gonna play fighting games competitively, I need to pick this up because it's what everyone's playing. And I didn't really have a huge opinion on the game at the time that it was released. I was just like, oh, Street Fighter's back. That's cool. But like, am I really gonna want to play this competitively? I don't know. And then so I gave it a shot. Xrd, I always was excited about. I was like, this looks amazing, and it's Guilty Gear's back, and I will play this. And I love that game.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But there can definitely come a point where you're just like, I'm you can be playing a game and you can enjoy it sometimes, or it doesn't entirely work for you, or you have too many gripes with the game, and it's just you end up not wanting to practice it. I feel like there's a reasonably clear threshold there.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people have been struggling with in the online era that we found ourselves in, having to substitute where our offline environment and the atmosphere and friendship and socialization that all entailed now to online, where like reorganizing your ability to play lawn sets where you can learn with each other takes some like serious organization, whether it's Discord or messages or other forms of networking. It's a lot harder now. So have you been adapting pretty well to the circumstances we find ourselves in now? And what are some of the strategies that you've used to keep yourself in it?
I would say so. It's definitely different. I mean, there are some things that are more difficult about it, like socializing with everyone and not being able to play without lag is very difficult. And you have to keep in mind the shift in the meta that can come with that change how you're playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
But for one, you don't have to travel, which can make it a lot easier to play with everyone on the same plane, because no one's going to majors, and we're all in this together. I've been very active on Discord. That has been very helpful. For any given game, usually there's a Discord for it. Oftentimes there's like a more competitive Discord in addition to that, and then usually there's a Discord for each individual character in the game. So you can find people to discuss strategies with you, and places where you can post your tech and find other people's tech, and you can also through Discord find people who want to play. There are often local Discords, so you can find people and you can play against that will be very low lag.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Discord is really essential for the fighting game community right now, and it's been central to my strategy to stay in it. And beyond that, I've just been throwing myself into playing online, playing ranked. Granblue I started a little over a month and a half ago, and it was yesterday or the day before I reached master rank, and I hit the top 20 players in the world on PS4. I'm working on it on PC right now, but just everybody playing online, because you know it's what's available, is conducive to just being able to find people and get a lot of experience.
Yeah, I do like the unity in that. The players that we will eventually discover when we eventually have offline, I hope are amazing, right? I hope there's even more, because there are definitely some people I don't have access to, whether for distance of connection or because they just prefer not to play in the online era. And I'm excited for the world in which we can have those people back and test ourselves against them and see who's really like an idiot by the end.
For Street Fighter 4, that was me. I mean, I live in the woods out in Western Massachusetts, and for a very long time, I didn't have an internet connection that allows for online play at all. Only just recently we got local fiber. Thank you so much to everyone involved with that, by the way.
Yeah.
But for Street Fighter 4, I have a very reactive style, and I do a lot of one-frame links and things like that. And playing online just felt so difficult to me, and I felt like it's a different game online. And it's like that for a lot of games. If you reach a certain point of lag, you have to adjust your style so that you are predicting instead of reacting to certain things. And I felt like in 4 it would taint my style of play almost.
Yeah.
If I played online. So I played like almost completely 100% offline. So I get that.
Yeah.
Right now, you know, there are better games with better netcode, and the internet is better in a lot of places. So you know, you can get around that a bit more, but there are definitely people who are purists that we won't see online. But if you know, once things are back to normal, hopefully we'll see them compete.
All right.
Yeah.
Alex, where can people find you if they want to find you on social media?
You can find me at Alex Smith FGC on Twitter, Twitch, and on Discord. I'm on the servers for Granblue, Street Fighter, local scene, everywhere. Feel free to hit me up if you want to play.
All right.
I think the link is incorrect. It's at Alex Smith FGC.
Oh, right, Alex Smith.
And it should be in chat now.
Gotcha. Perfect. Awesome. Well, that is going to be the long-awaited, long-asked-for, long-needed Alex Smith FGC interview. Appreciate you for coming on board, brother. And
thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it, man.
Oh, this is gonna be dope. I'm glad to have you. This is gonna be sick. Matt, anything?
I'm good. I just want to express my thanks for Alex as well for donating his time, lawn, acquired wisdom, energy, and level of play to the fighting game community for so long. One of the like great treats of moving to New England for me was knowing Alex Smith from when he would travel all the way out to Buffalo events for many years, and then coming over here, I get to see him like at least every month, when at least an anime monthly, to presumably get washed in. Yeah,
Oh shit.
yeah, yeah.
Perfect. We are
Mhm.
gonna conclude actually BFD podcast episode 3. Next week is gonna be we're gonna take a break for the holidays, but we have a lot more things coming up your way. With the podcast being our newest IP, we're gonna be opening Running Sets IP soon, so stay tuned for our Running Sets IP. And next week's a break. There may be a release for our other things that are coming out, so definitely stay tuned to that. But enjoy the holidays, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in. Beyond Frame Data in the building. Festive Frame Data. Beyond Festivities Data. Podcast episode 3. Beyond Santa Frame Data. I definitely have to have a new holidays emote, but thank you guys. Peace out, peace out, peace out, peace out, peace out.
He's
Thanks,
beyond
everyone.
2020.
Much love.